Hello and welcome to another episode of Brand Retro. And today on the podcast, we have Ann Carden. Ann, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Mike. It's great to be here with you.
Kick us off. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and kind of what you're kind of offering to the world from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I'm an entrepreneur, obviously. I'm a business strategist and coach, and I'm also CEO of the Expert in You brand and the founder of those programs, and it's a marketing and media agency. But I also coach people in business growth, and so marketing is a piece of that. It's not the main thing that I do. But I work with entrepreneurs, elite entrepreneurs and experts who are either trying to break into the coaching and consulting space and they want to build really high-end business from their expertise, or I help them really scale their business if they're already in business and build more premium services, really level up their marketing, build those marketing engines. I always say build that $1 million plus business with a handful of clients. So
one of the things I run into a lot with my clients and other entrepreneurs is that there's a lot of facets to this whole entrepreneurship thing. And when you're a business owner, you're wearing a lot of different hats, doing a lot of different things. Let's talk about the marketing aspect of it. So when you teach and coach and work with people on the marketing aspect on how to build that marketing engine, what does that look like?
Yeah, so the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is there really are two sides to marketing. There is what I call your influence system. We haven't always had to really have that. So that would be really building that brand and being seen. Because of the online world now, we have to build that we have to build that influence system. If you think back to the old days, the big corporations with deep pockets were the ones that did brand awareness. And now though, the playing field is leveled because of social media, because of the tools that we have access to. And anyone can go live and anyone can be on TV and anyone can have a podcast, right? And so now you can actually play a game the same as the big boys if you're willing to put in the effort and the work. It's really not a necessity. It's really not an option anymore. It's a necessity if you really want to build. So that's one piece of it. So you want to consistently be building that brand, building that digital footprint, being seen, being visible. People trust brands more if they can see behind the curtain and understand the brand and really get to know people or get to know the person behind the brand. So that's one piece. But the other side of that is lead generation. And one thing that I see, especially with entrepreneurs or small businesses or solopreneurs, is sometimes they do one or the other. So they might be online and they're putting out content and they're building thought leadership. It's like hope marketing. They're putting all of that out and they're hoping people will see their content and then want to book a call and buy in. Sometimes that happens, but you have to really go deeper and you have to think about you're trying to generate leads with that content and also strengthen your positioning in the market. So then the other side of that, though, is the outbound work to get inbound results. And I do love attraction marketing. To me, that's part of the influence piece of it, is getting people to be interested, pulling them into your ecosystem. But that takes outbound work. So whatever that looks like, that might be paid ads, that might be using a podcast as your lead generation tool. That might be, I do a lot with my clients on LinkedIn. That might be doing some sort of outreach on LinkedIn. It's generating those leads. It's getting people to take that next step with you. And so that you need both of those engines going. And that's a lot of people, again, are doing one or the other, and they're missing the boat by not doing both.
So how do you handle, because I'm sure you run into this, how do you handle the client expectation where some clients want to do everything? Some clients want to do nothing. Some clients want to do just certain parts. And we know that, again, you can't be all things to all people, but all these different things work together. So if there's, I'm just basing this off round numbers, if there's 10 different vehicles in which to operate your marketing from, you know that whatever 4, 5, 6, 7 you choose, they're working together to develop and what could be considered ROI. And how do you work with clients to understand that and kind of lean into the things that are going to work for them versus what they're seeing everywhere else?
Yeah. So that's just a great question. A lot of that really does come down to the content that I put out to really be real with people. This is what it takes. And especially if you're talking about like a solopreneur or someone who's smaller, who's trying to get their marketing engine going, I'm very upfront with the fact that, look, until you get it working, you can't outsource something that you don't know how to do yourself, and it doesn't mean you have to know how to do everything, but you should be savvy enough in your marketing, and you should be able to get your marketing going to know that it works. And then you can hire the team, you can outsource, you can do whatever you need to do. But probably a better answer is it's very customized. There's not a cookie cutter system. And so when I work with clients, I really look at what's going to be the best avenue for them, because you can't do everything all at one time. You have to build. So you get one thing working, and then you can stack your marketing. You can now add the next layer and the next layer and the next layer. I think a lot of times people think they have to do it all at one time, and that usually gets you no traction at all. So get one system working. And then once you get that working, you're going to have a better idea of what you can do in your business. But quite honestly, Mike, it's really hard for people sometimes to know the right way to go, because so many agencies and people out there are teaching cookie cutter systems, and they're just not right for everyone. That's where a strategist can come in, I've been building businesses for 34 years. I've built 5 previous and sold them. And so I've been at this a very long time. And having someone that can say, this is the path you should go, these are the steps you should take, let's go this direction, it just simplifies the whole process. Otherwise, you're out there on a wing and a prayer trying to figure it out, and that can be costly and time-consuming and still not get you the results.
Yeah, and I believe it comes down to the individual as well, because
It does.
if they're not the kind of person that's going to be on TikTok, or if they're not the kind of person that understands, say Facebook or whatever it is, it's just not going to execute correctly, and it's not going to come across as genuine or authentic. So that's part of it. Like the recipe in which you devise for these people, correct me if you disagree, but I think it needs to be somewhat tailored to the individual as well.
Absolutely. That's such a huge part. I'm all about helping people build brands and businesses that really align with what they do. That being said, there is still everything can't be fun in your business. That's just not the reality.
Yeah.
There are things you are going to have to do that you may not like. But the one thing that I encourage people, and again, it comes down to who are you? What are you building? What's going to be the right fit for you? But the one thing that I encourage, sometimes people don't do things because it's new and it's not comfortable. That doesn't mean they'll never like it. Or I remember my very first Facebook Live probably 15 years ago, Mike, and I was shaking. And I had been on stages speaking and all of that, but the whole virtual world, oh my gosh, it just freaked me out. And then trying to do the technology. So you have to also understand and be realistic of what it does take to build in the marketplace today. And some things you need to do, whether they may not be the most comfortable thing. But that being said, for the most part, people can build in a way that aligns with them. And there are so many avenues a lot of times you can go, but you can't be afraid to market, and you can't be afraid to put yourself out there and build that brand and that engine. Somebody needs to be the face of your company. And again, if you're a business where somebody can be the face of that business because you're a plumbing company, that's one thing, right?
Yeah.
But if you're a coach or a consultant, a speaker, an author, people want to see you. They want to learn from you and get to know you. So they're different strategies. But at the end of the day, you need a great strategy that's going to align with what you're trying to do, that is also going to work and really streamline things and shortcut the process for you.
Yeah. What would you say is the most important thing about a customer mindset when they come in? Is it, that they need to understand the industry? Is it belief? Is it like, what's the most important thing that you see that clients need to really have packing when they show up?
Yes, I know what I'm looking for, and I'm looking for people that are looking for me. So I'm looking for people that already really have the mindset, like they're wanting to really grow their business. They want to take it to the next level, or they want to add a coaching or consulting arm. and they're ready to do that. Maybe they've owned a business, they've sold businesses, they've been successful in business, or they've had some sort of expertise and they know this is the next thing for them. And so they're really ready to step into that. If you're just starting as an entrepreneur, there's just a reality that you're going to have to understand that it's not an easy path. There are a
No.
lot of moving parts and a lot of pieces, and you have to be ready for that. You have to be resilient. You have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. But for me personally, I'm not looking for the people I have to convince. Now, does that mean I don't have to do some mindset work with them? You can do this. You can, of course, sometimes when you're asking them to get uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, they're willing to do it because they really want to get the results and grow their business. So some of that comes down to who you target.
Yeah, to your point, I think a lot of people will tell you they want to grow, or they'll tell you that, this is what I want to do. But when it comes time for the rubber to hit the road, that's when the barriers pop up. And again, not that you can't spend some time coaching them through those things or helping them through those struggles. At its core, they need to want to do it. And
100%.
for those who want to, and for those who believe, the whole process is easier. Not just our jobs, but success comes faster.
Yes.
The sales come faster. Like, it all works better if they're bought into their own vision.
Absolutely. You have to want to do it. No one's going to do it for you. Even if you get people to do stuff, you still have to lead them. You still have to. There's so many things that go into building businesses. And so you have to really want it. I always say, if you're not going to be 100% in, don't even start, because, and maybe a lot of people wouldn't agree with that, but coming from someone who's been through so much in business over 34 years, look, I've seen it all: recessions, 9/11, Y2K. I've been through loads. And if I didn't have the resilience and the commitment to what I was doing, I would have never survived. And yet here I still am 30-something years later. But here's another thought for people, and I bring this up a lot of times to my clients. I say to them, because entrepreneurs are guilty of this, because they're online or because they're building online, they don't have the same investment in the business as if they look at it this way. I had a lot of brick-and-mortar businesses, and so I would have 6 and 7 year leases with those buildings that I leased, and for thousands of dollars a month. I would have staff, I would have overhead. And so if you think about, if you treated your business online that same way as if you had to go in and open up your doors every day and show up and be there for your customers and run your team and pay the bills, you would have a very different attitude. That's what's really given me the resilience and everything that when I came online, is because I went through all of that. And so if you think about your business that way and you don't treat it like, a lot of people talk about the freedom and the lifestyle, okay, to a degree, right? You still have to put in the time, you have to put in the work. Freedom means you get to pick somewhat the time you want to work. If you need to take off and go to the doctor, you can do that. It doesn't mean you do nothing. And I think that is a lot of times where the disconnect is for people. They think it's going to be easy, and just know it's not. It's not. Even when I came online, it was a very different animal. There was so much more to learn. I'm still learning. It's always changing. You have to be in it to win it, really.
Yeah. And I'm with you. Like, I'm not saying you don't have those little splashes of freedom or those things that you like. Sure, those things happen. But if you're doing it right, they're few and far between, and you're also finding opportunities to put the work in, because without putting the work in, the success doesn't happen. Yeah. And one of the things I talk about all the time, not just on the podcast, but with my clients, is that you have to know your worth. You have to know your hourly rate. So every opportunity you take to get out of the business, you just cost yourself X amount of dollars per hour. So if you're just easy math, if you think you're worth $100 an hour, that afternoon you spent at happy hour with your buddies might have cost you $500. So that's a business expense. And same with, like, I agree with you. I think having a familiarity with social media and these things is good, but there is a tipping point where all of a sudden it's like I'm doing all this stuff myself,
Mm-hmm.
and if I'm worth $100 an hour, I'm putting in $1,500 worth of effort into my social media each week.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably hire somebody to do that while I'm out selling. Or you have to have
Oh,
that. You have to
100%.
you have to have
Yes.
that mindset so you know when to pivot, so you know when to make the
Yes.
right choices. Because to your original point, this idea of being an entrepreneur and just freedom, that's not how that works.
No, and there is a point. So there are different phases to
Yeah.
business, right? So there's the startup phase where you're doing a lot of things yourself. And once you start getting things working, you want to outsource those jobs as quick as you can that are not productive. I don't post on social. I mean, once in a while I'll post something on social media, but I have somebody that does it. I have somebody that books me on podcasts. There's somebody that does my back end podcast. I have team that do things for me, and I show up and do the things that really matter. I do my own sales calls because I don't work with thousands of clients. So I do that. So I do the things that number one I enjoy, but also the things that I feel I want to do in my business, and that I am the face of my business and my company. And so you have to determine those things. But yeah, I am not about you do everything
Yeah.
yourself. And no, no, no. So you go into a growth phase where now you start giving things away, delegating, hiring your team, managing, leading. Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
And I say that mostly because of the mindset of it. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure you run into it where I run into people all the time. They're like, well, that must be awesome having your own business because then you can just do what you want, or you can go fishing or whatever. And I'm like, not really. That never
It's still a
happens.
job. You still are working, right? It's
Right.
still work.
I mean,
Yes. Yes.
I'm not going to lie. I look out the window sometimes and think, man, I wish I was fishing, but that doesn't mean I get to go. So
If you build right when I
yeah,
was building a lot of my businesses, the reason I was able to sell those is they were turnkey. I had built teams, I had built employees. They could run those businesses. I
sure.
still kept my hand on the pulse of the business and still drove the business and things like that. But I had people that did a lot of the
Yeah.
work. So if I took off, it could function, it could
Yeah.
run without me. And I recommend that you do that
I
depending
agree.
on the type of business you have. But it takes you a while to get to that point,
Yeah.
and so you have to be realistic. And look, if you're not going to if you're not gonna be resilient or be 100% committed, you can't expect other people under you to be committed either. You
Yeah.
have to be the leader of your business and your company, even if you're not doing all the stuff. So you have to understand there's phases to business.
Yeah. That's a very good point, and I agree with you. It is, I think the initial leap in the process, it's liberating, right? There's a sexiness to the beginning of the process, but then all of a sudden the hats start coming and you're the accountant, and all of a sudden
Mhm.
I'm HR, and then I'm doing the work, and then I'm putting in all the hours, and all of a sudden reality hits you. And yeah, I mean, it definitely, it's a journey and you have to be
Yeah.
prepared for it. But I'm 100% with you that I think, you got to think down the road as to what you want this to look like so you can
Yeah.
exercise the freedoms and sell it or whatever it is you want to do
Yes.
with it.
And I was
So,
just going to say that too. One of the most important things I think someone can do, especially if they're just starting in business, is really think about the end game. I know that sounds
yeah,
crazy, but what do you want that business to look like? What does your life look like with that business? Because that will determine how you build it. For me, I love a boutique business. I built big businesses, and now this is kind of something I love, and I want it to be more of a boutique business where
mhm,
I'm not living it. I travel. I have grandkids. I just got back from 5 days with my grandkids, and
yeah,
so I have that freedom, and I built that into my business now. But I also knew that's what I want, and so I'm able to set up my business in a way that it allows me to have that freedom and things like that. But you have to know, do you want to sell it at some point? I'm starting to build the media side of my business. I look at that as something that I will probably be able to sell when I do decide that I want to get out of this. And so you just have to know that end game, and that will direct your steps. It will also make your path easier because now you'll make better decisions. the decisions will align with where you're trying to go. You'll be able to cut away distractions and stay really focused on what that looks like and what that game is like.
I agree. So, Ann, tell us a little bit more about where we can follow along and learn more about your business.
Yes, you can definitely follow me on social. I'm on all YouTube. I have a big YouTube channel. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. But you can go to my website at anncarden.com. So there's an L in the middle.com. Also, you can grab my latest magazine it's called Expert in You. It's at expertinyoumagazine.com. It is filled with great stories, inspirations, strategies. It's a brand new magazine we launched. We're getting ready to do the second edition, and I would love for you to grab that and take advantage of that.
Yeah. And we'll add those links into the show notes and make sure it's easily accessible for everybody. And
I have a podcast too.
Yeah. So with that, Ann, thank you for being on the podcast. I appreciate your time and some very valuable insights, and it was great talking to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.